Bitcoin can still form another brutal move to the downside in this bear market. I want to show you some indicators today. We want to talk about the short-term structure. And first of all, we want to start here on the daily time frame just to double down on the idea that this July rally isn't over yet. Quick reminder, we talked about Bitcoin over the last few weeks, basically every day here on the channel, sometimes twice per day. And the idea was, especially in July and end of June, that we should get this corrective rally into the resistance area. Now, I'm not suggesting that the entire bear market is over. While this is possible, anything is possible, it's not probable. And just because something is possible doesn't mean it's necessarily probable. What I show you here is the preferred interpretation of a so-called wave 2 corrective rally into resistance. The resistance area is between $66,230 to $76,640. And the idea was that Bitcoin should rally higher in July, potentially into August. Very often in the last few bear markets, Bitcoin formed the top in August. That's just a tendency that we observe again and again in bear markets. Just again, last bear market, that was this period from the June lows, happened again this time, right? I think it was the 1st of July actually where the rally started this time into the August highs. So it could very well be that we spend 1-2 weeks still in a local uptrend in August before the market then sets up for the next decline. And remember that from the August high in 2022, the market declined roughly 40%. That is also what might happen this time. Now, people told me you can't use that really for reference because this was the FTX collapse. Well, my view is that the FTX collapse ended the bear market. So a catalyst sometimes is needed to do something that would have happened anyway, or might have just taken a little bit longer. Look, maybe Bitcoin would have needed another 2 months or so to form the bear market low in 2022 without the FTX collapse. But it happened, right? And it had an effect on market sentiment. So sometimes you need these catalysts. You know, many of these movements here in the chart anyway can be, let's say, assigned to or related to a certain catalyst. But if the catalyst was really the reason or really just an accelerator, impossible to tell. So that's why we focus on the model, Elliott Wave. It reads market sentiment. It helps us to understand market sentiment. And you don't need to read the news to understand the chart. You can, and it tells you probably the why, but really what is more important for traders is the what. You know, what is happening. Currently, we're likely in a corrective bounce into resistance as expected. This can still extend a little higher. Especially the area here around 69 to 72K would be an ideal target for this wave 2. Talked about it many times. It's crystal clear. Any questions about that, let me know in the comments, but it's really crystal clear. By the way, for those of you who don't know, we also run a pretty active X channel. I try to answer as many YouTube comments as possible, but I am much more active on X, and it's just a better place to discuss with the community. So if you are interested in, asking a question, or if you just want to check out our analysis there, because there are many other exclusive videos and so on released here on X, feel free to follow. It's the More Crypto Online channel. Make sure that you only follow the one with the golden check mark. There are also, by the way, additional Bitcoin updates and much more. So look, we go back to the Bitcoin chart. I think it should be clear that we are likely in this corrective rally. One of my objectives targets for this month was to reach this resistance area. I mean, we're not exactly there yet, but we should get there rather soon, which is also in line with the microstructure I shared with you, by the way. The microstructure, if we go to the shorter time frame, the microstructure suggested that the market is likely following here a pathway higher. This is what I just showed you, just zoomed in. Sometimes people have difficulties to make the transition from the larger time frame to the smaller time frame. So I just want to really make it crystal clear. Back to the daily, what I'm zooming in here on the smaller time frame is this section. And I really recommend that you guys take a quiet moment to watch these videos, because I navigate sometimes between the time frames to explain things. Sometimes it's needed so that you understand both the context and the shorter time frame. Both are super, super important. Yeah. I will try to be very clear, usually give you also a summary at the end. So there shouldn't really be any more questions. But as I said, if there are any more questions and anything is unclear, make sure to just ask the question. And best place to do it is probably either on our Discord server, where I'm nearly 24/7, or on our X channel. So the smallest time frame suggested that the market is in this wave 2 rally. I mean, this is coming from the context, and the smaller time frame shows us the roadmap higher. And you guys know that I'm tracking this as an A, B, C structure in the white scenario. The C wave to the upside should be 5 waves. So I explained over the last few days the tendency of Bitcoin to push higher here right now. And the roadmap is currently still being followed. Look, the idea is that this is a corrective rally that could still stretch out towards 69 to 72K. So in a few minutes, we'll talk further about the microstructures here, but I think it's important to understand context, larger context. This is part of a corrective rally. Smaller time frame shows you there is still a roadmap for higher prices, but it is only a corrective rally because the larger time frame, and now we go to the monthly chart, which I don't show you very often, the larger time frame shows us that Bitcoin really only just now reached the support zone that not quite. I mean, on the monthly, it looks like we reached it. We're just hovering just above. This is a support zone I communicated more than a year ago. And the idea is this is a wave 2 correction. I communicated this already. And again, this is the stuff that you also see on X regularly. For example, I show you here many cycle overviews. By the way, there are also some scam warnings, but look, this was posted in March 2025. Basically, I said one more high into this zone towards the end of the year, major top, and then move to the downside into this support zone between roughly 24K and 52K. And I adjusted it slightly higher, obviously, with that new high, right? That is always needed. That's how the Fibonacci levels work. But this is the wave 2 support area. And honestly, anybody who's been following this channel, either on X or on YouTube, you guys knew that after one more high, the wave count would be full. I did not talk much about the 4-year cycle back then. I mainly used Elliott Wave because I didn't use time cycles much. I do that now to make things even clearer. But that aligned very well with the 4-year cycle theory. But I didn't use it. You don't need it. You just look at market structure. So what can I say? This was very accurate. And I know back then a lot of people told me that Bitcoin will never go back below 100K. You know, when it then pushed finally above it, it was supposed to never go back below 100K. Well, didn't Michael Saylor even say that? And now he sold at around 55K or something. So it's crazy. 55, 60K. It's crazy, right? It's crazy. But again, this is not hindsight analysis. We've been following the same roadmap for years now. And it just follows, it's like a simulation. It just follows the script. And that's no surprise because Elliott Wave just shows us the most probable pathways. It's a model that's based on guidelines, rules, and I mean, I'm looking at hundreds of charts per week. Like, I mean, I know how markets move, right? I mean, that doesn't mean that I can predict every move, but I know what the most probable pathways are, and I know when I can trust a move. And so, you know, my objective here isn't to tell you exactly what will happen now on the larger time frame. We did that before. I recently made a video where I explained also what Bitcoin will likely do after the bear market finished. These videos are all on YouTube. What I want to show you here on the monthly chart is I want to double down on the idea that Bitcoin could still get another brutal leg down, kind of what I said in the introduction. Because if this here was an A wave down, this was a B wave up, the C wave down should still move a little lower. Most of the decline is likely done, but that still means that Bitcoin could drop another 30% or so, maybe even 40%. Something that supports that idea is what you see here. First of all, this trend line on the monthly RSI still supports the idea that we maybe after a bit more of a recovery could get another leg down. into October or so, okay? So this is possible. The RSI allows for that. We have not yet touched the trend line that we touched usually around bear market lows before. Not quite in 2019, but before, always, right? We came very close in 2019. If we really formed the bear market low already, and a lot of people tell me that this is the case, then this would be quite far away from that RSI line. Bitcoin normally doesn't form a low when the RSI is still so far away from the trend line. The other point I want to make is the MACD, MACD. We make that larger. In 2023, do you see that? Do you see, this is the monthly MACD. Bitcoin obviously formed the low. It was in November 22. Yeah, in November 22. And then it turned around. And I'm not suggesting that we have to wait until we get a bullish cross here for the MACD on the monthly. But there is absolutely no sign yet of a recovery. This is still coming down. The momentum is starting to, downside momentum is maybe starting to slow down a little bit, which is not a surprise given that we are entering the third phase of the bear market, the last phase. But I do not see any reversal. I do not see any bottoming indicator here, indication on the monthly MACD. Okay, so I mean, it might start to turn around slowly, but this was the monthly MACD. So it might take several weeks and months to actually start to turn around. What is certainly positive is here on the weekly MACD that we see a bullish cross. But a bullish cross on the weekly for Bitcoin doesn't necessarily suggest the bear market is over, because we get bullish crosses all the time. So that's why I think for the MACD, it's important to take a look at the monthly, and I do not see any reliable signal that the low is in. So this still suggests we could get another brutal move down. Again, we're not far away, but we could touch that yellow trend line. Something to keep in mind, yeah. Save that for later. And this supports the idea that on the daily time frame, we measure it regularly, that the 100% extension target for this C wave to the downside could be reached, and that's at 39K. It is one of the targets that I mention most of the time. It is measured based on the length of the A wave. You compare it with the length of the C wave. 39K is an ideal target. It's not a must reach, but it's an ideal target. So I wanted to show you that MACD. It kind of adds weight to the idea that we can still get another move down. Very clear. But before that happens, this corrective rally should still extend a little bit. And that is exactly what we talked about in previous updates again and again. And so what I was very clear about in our newsletters, as well as the microstructure analysis, especially if you follow the member videos as well on a daily basis. I shared one today, highlighted we could get the breakout next year. Also, the updates on Discord or on X, you know that the move to the upside was characterized by 5 wave movements. See, you see that. I mean, really, people sometimes don't believe this, right? But if I see 5 waves up again and again here as well, you get 5 wave movements everywhere here. If I see that, and the context tells me that a good chance of the price pushing higher, then this is a great signal that the market really wants to push higher here as well. Sorry, this was not the 5. This 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, everybody can count that. It's not rocket science. Especially then, if you get a 3-wave move down as well, because these are corrective movements. They tell us more upside is likely to come. 5 waves up is the trend direction. And if the move down supports that by only being a 3-wave decline, well, what can I say? Then it remains the most probable pathway that we go higher. And so at the moment, the market has shown a reaction to micro support between 63 and 64K. We've broken above the first resistance, which was at 64.9K. And we're on our way to the next resistances at 66.3, 69, and then possibly even 72K. Honestly, what shouldn't happen from a bullish point of view now is a break below the last swing low that formed there at 64K, basically the upper boundary of our support. If the price falls back into it, okay, it could be a wider wave too. So first warning that something breaks would be a break below 64K, back into the zone, and then 63K is the next important support. As a reasonable alternative, we could still explore the idea of a larger wave too, a larger B wave that might reach our lower support area, but that is and remains, for now, an alternative. So interesting developments on the Bitcoin chart. Could be that this is now an internal third wave up here. If this really follows through, the internal third wave in the white count to the upside, I would want it to reach the 138% extension, at least. This means $67,220 for this internal third wave. But I've made the observation that in corrective rallies, sometimes a third wave can be a bit weaker. It just must not be the shortest wave, right, of these 5 waves up. I'll, of course, keep you updated. Hope it was helpful. If you're interested in additional updates, I recommend that you check out our membership. Also, feel free to follow us on X for further updates. By the way, for our membership, for the gold membership, you get a 50% discount on your first month. The link is in the comment section. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.